Welcome. This is the Drupal usability meeting for June 23rd, 2023. I'm Benji Fisher, moderating and sharing my screen. The issue number for today's meeting is 336-7277. Also present are Eric. You must have logged on in the last couple of seconds. Christina Chumias, Emma Harrell, Quinn Pham, and Ralph Kohler. And I think what we would like to talk about today, especially since Christina is able to join us, are first of all, the issue 331-8112, which is to move block layout from the structure to appearance in the administration menu. So that what that is talking about, if I put the admin menu vertically, is that currently under structure. I've applied the patch. So this is not actually Drupal 10.1. This is what the current patch or merge request on the issue would do. So block layout used to be here. We currently replace it with a sort of a placeholder link. And the new location is to put block layout under appearance. And that's what this issue would do. The sort of placeholder link was a late addition to try to satisfy backwards compatibility concerns. But we've postponed that issue, and I think I have tab open. No. Let me find
it is linked on the reference. Yeah.
We've postponed the issue on this one, restructure the admin interface information architecture. This is issue 2755613. I think that issue title has been updated recently. It used to be a little more general. So now it specifically refers. Okay, thanks. So now it specifically refers to the information architecture or the menu structure, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and I see Thomas Howell has joined us in the last few minutes. So Christina, do you want to take over the conversation from here?
Sure. Okay, so let's start from where you actually left it, which is this issue about moving this block layout into the appearance. So you've, for whoever is watching the video later or whoever doesn't have the background, this is work coming from moving other block layout stuff, or block stuff to other places. Haven't been tracking that, but so far everything made a lot of sense. But this specific issue was something that Laurie tested while he was testing other stuff related to, well, field UX and other things. We conducted several user tests, and with users with a little bit experience on the admin interface, and obviously also experienced users, we saw that absolutely everybody had troubles finding this in the admin interface. And basically most of them didn't even, like, after 1 minute, I mean, you can consider that the test has failed, so you can actually help them. And almost everybody had to be helped. So as a result of that, Laurie posted some feedback on the issue, and the result of that was like the alt link inside the structure page. But still, it doesn't solve the problem, because if the users still have troubles finding that, that's a little bit concerning, having this change. But that beyond that, there is this whole effort happening where our goal is actually to basically replace the toolbar with a new navigation that is going to be in the left. I'm not sure if you've been following that a little bit, but basically it's like a the attempt is basically to modernize the whole navigation. Inside that efforts, one of the steps or one of the phases is actually to refactor the whole information architecture. And that brings into the table a little bit of the past of what's the current architecture and why we have all these links nowadays. Some kind of, I'm not sure if it was a card sorting exactly, but there was some research when the current architecture was decided. And from that background, I think it's really important to highlight that the appearance wasn't going to actually be an item in the main menu, or sorry, on the first level menu. It was placed in there express with the express intention to highlight the theme goal, like to let users know that they can customize their appearance and everything. And that's kind of the background of why the appearance is in there. It's not because it ended up there organically. It was because it was a clear product intention, or like there wasn't a strategy behind that. That's why when you try to place the block layout in here, it was like a little bit forced, because this is not supposed to have other things. I understand that the from the items that you have on the first level, it's the one that actually makes more sense. But the problem is that this item in here is not supposed to be like a main appearance folder where anything related to layout and appearance can go in. So if you take a look to the menu, you will see that it's kind of separated. If you ignore for one moment the appearance link, you will see that it's kind of separated by tasks. You can first create content, then you can define the structure of the site, which would be item 2. Then extend would be the one that actually would be the task to install more things. Then you can have all the configuration. Then you have the list for the people, and you can manage the people. And then you have reports and help. And the menu, that was the initial result, or the results that they came up with. And that's why appearance ended up in there in the first place. Like the history of the appearance link in the first level is because of that. So with all this information, that's why I wasn't like completely sure about moving new stuff inside the appearance. And because you all invested so much time, I thought it wasn't fair, like to just come and say, no, this can't happen. Actually needs like some, I need some data to actually back what I want to, what I think it needs to be done here. And I need to like prove that it's okay, or it's not okay, or it makes sense, or it doesn't. So inside, since we still had to do the card sorting test anyway, inside the efforts to create all this new navigation, I thought that it could make more sense to move to closer in time the card sorting, so we can start digging a little bit on the information architecture, and we can have some insights from what people actually has in mind. And actually, a lot of people, the card sorting, we just closed it like a few hours ago, because it was supposed to close yesterday, but we just left a few more hours. There's like more than 200 people that have answered the card sorting, and actually that have actually submitted the yeah, I can send you the yeah, exactly.
So for the sake of recording, this is 3366986, the card sorting survey. And I think several people on this call and a whole bunch of other people have commented that they filled out the survey. Oh, and I see you have results down here.
Yeah, well, this is just the profile of people submitting this. I didn't post the results of the card sorting because basically, if you want, I can actually share screen in a moment when we finish this discussion. If you're interested in that, but basically we have like a lot of answers, and now we have to work through the results, and it's going to be a lot of work. So it's going to take some time to actually figure that out. But one of the things that I've seen is that a lot of people, well, I've seen and we've seen in general, is that a lot of people actually place both the extend for like install new modules and install new themes, which is basically extending Drupal somehow or personalizing Drupal, customizing Drupal, sorry. They place them in the same place. And it could be inside configuration, it could be inside extend, I don't know. It's not clear where it's going to go right now. As I was saying, we just closed that a few hours ago, but we might, this first level appearance item might end up not being there once we finish that.
Okay,
So
can I ask you to
that's
pause
it.
there for a moment?
No, yeah, actually, I was going to finish in here. So from here, any questions or anything?
Yeah, I noticed, Eric, you unmuted yourself a while ago. Did you have something you wanted to say? Eric, I don't hear you. Anyone else have points they'd like to make at this point, or questions? Go ahead, Ralph.
Eric, sorry, Eric has some issue with his microphone, so.
Right, so Eric, there's the Zoom chat. Oh, I usually offer that if people prefer to type rather than speak up, you can type into the Zoom chat. I keep an eye on it, and I'll try to read your comments for you. So Eric doesn't actually have any comments at this point, but Thomas, you just raised your hand. What would you like to say?
Um, I think that it's really cool that we're doing we did past tense, the card sorting exercise. Um, uh, I'm a little concerned, like, I see that do we also have a breakdown, Christina, in terms of how many of these people have different levels of Drupal experience? Or because this was an issue on D.O, we're basically assuming that these are all people with significant experience in Drupal.
No, the only question, filtering question that we ask is the one that you're seeing in front of you, which is what's a profile? Either
Okay.
developer, yeah.
One of the things that I've struggled with for a while is that conceptually, the idea of blocks versus pages and how Drupal is structured has always been kind of a muddle for me to understand, despite years of experience. And keeping all of the terms in the cards, because I get that the exercise with the card sorting was to take existing labels, and if we're really looking at the admin and what things mean, um, I don't know if people might have had, like, we can't differentiate if someone had a strong sorting preference or they sorted because they couldn't figure out anywhere else to put something. And blocks in particular, along with taxonomy, have always been very, very fuzzy for me when I try to explain things to non-Drupalists. And so while I know how to use them and the intention of them, I worry that that wouldn't come out in a card sorting exercise. And ultimately that impacts things like what the intent is of the word appearance in the past, what it was trying to address and how people structurally might think the dominant mental models are in other software when doing these exercises. So just wanted to get that out there. It's more of a concern and less of an action that we can take.
Well, basically, I would probably say that what we were trying to achieve here is not like the perfect solution, but a solution that is going to serve most of the cases. We were trying to find out what's the majority of the mindset, not specific cases, because it's going to be always impossible to solve all the mental models and everything.
Yeah, I think
From
it makes
all
sense.
this,
I think it makes sense early in the process to get a lot of data which doesn't have this sort of level of detail that Thomas was talking about. And later in the process, when you have 2 or 3 choices to choose from, to have a second round of user testing, which will go more in depth.
I guess the challenge that I see is, and I'm just positing something here, not saying this is the actual situation, but if I don't like the term block layout because I don't think it makes sense to anyone off the Drupal island, that it acts as a barrier to entry for non-Drupalists.
yeah,
If
and
we don't
I
tackle that before we do the card sorting, then that's a baked-in assumption that's what we need to continue to do.
yeah, so I totally see what you're saying. I actually 100% agree with you. It's just that we needed to move on the results and have something to start working with on the information architecture level. I think what you and Ralph, I see you have your hands up. I will try to stop talking like 1 second, but just to point out what Thomas is saying. And shit, I just lost track of what I was saying. Yeah, I just lost track. Sorry. Well, anyway, I totally agree with you, but we needed to start somewhere. And since we want to do a lot of other changes in the in the navigation itself, sorry, yeah, I just remembered. I think in general, one of the strategies that Laurie is setting as a product manager is, and I think it makes a lot of sense actually, it's not just changing things, but actually going into a direction that Drupal is more easy to use, not just for long-term users, but also people that is starting right now. And we have so many Drupalisms in our information architecture, and it's not just about blocks. It's, for example, view modes. If you just get inside the structure page, you have display modes, and then you have view modes, and then you have form modes. And then if you go into the content types and you try to switch between view modes, you have managed display. So we have so many things that actually need work around the naming itself, not just because they are confusing the way that they are right now. It's just that they don't make any sense for somebody that is starting with Drupal or it's from outside the island. So basically, I agree with you, Thomas. This will need to change. It's just that we needed to start with something and got better than the things that we have right now.
Go ahead, Ralph.
Just one question and one remark about the card sort. In regards to the question, have there been any other exercises aside the card sort yet? And are there any others planned so far?
Yes, there are other plans, but not all are related to information architecture. Not sure if you want to know, like in general, or just a
No,
product
just in relation to the information architecture.
So the idea is once this is like we have some conclusions around that. Probably one of the things that we will try to find out is what actually makes sense for each profile. One thing is a site builder or somebody that actually has experience or has all the items in the menu available, and the other is whoever that works with content. And if we want to customize or like make the experience better for that role, we need to find out how to have a proper menu for content related users. And maybe that's having a new menu, maybe that's organizing things different inside the content menu. That's an answer that we don't know, but that will need some work around, both to decide if it's a separated menu and to decide how that needs to be organized for content related authors. It's the one yellow below that says new content creation proposal.
Then maybe one suggestion for another exercise that might be informative, maybe to create some sort of comparative navigational hierarchy diagrams to compare the different stages of, for example, how the menu evolved over the years, and that way you also see the terminology used, if it stayed the same or in which parts it changed. And that way, in combination with the card sorting and the results there, it might be helpful and informative.
I think that's a really good idea, but I'm wondering if it wouldn't make more sense, because actually one of the plans is do some research beyond our island, and it's actually to see how other products are actually using the terminology itself. So we call it modules, but in WordPress they're not called the same. So all these differences, what's the standard way of naming things outside, or if there is even a standard way of naming things. So this is something that is planned to do. I don't think there is right now, or there was right now, any plan like to do this comparative between menus in the past in Drupal itself.
Might be a good idea in regard, as you said, extended to other CMSs as well. It doesn't have to be that historical context, but to have, for example, for Drupal 6, Drupal 7, several one or two iterations, and Drupal 8 and 9, depending on how much the menu changed, and then for the present state, and then for a few other CMSs like WordPress and Typo 3, for example, and Joomla, have the present state of their admin menu as well, and compare that and the terminology used there. It might be as well informative and give people a idea. And also from a perspective of people switching from, for example, Joomla to Drupal, and if the terminology differs to West, then it is also challenging.
Yeah, exactly. That's a goal.
So let me just mention a couple of issues related to the question that maybe not everyone should use the same menu. So one is the new content creation menu proposal. That's issue 3203618. And another issue, that this is actually the one I was looking for when I was scrolling through the links on the ideas issue. It's issue 1869638, to make the menu shown in the administration menu tray configurable. Oh, did I open this issue? Yes, I opened this issue in 2012. So yeah, these are some ideas that have been going around for a long time. So yeah, so let's stay focused for now on the information architecture in this menu. Maybe if we have time at the end of the meeting, we can talk about some other things. But Christina, the next steps, you've just closed this card sorting survey. And I guess you're going to be analyzing the results of that? Is that something you need help with? And other than that, what are the next steps?
So right now, well, as far as I know, Laudi met with the accessibility team, meaning accessibility experts that they've been working for years in accessibility and this kind of related stuff from IKEA, and they were interested on helping out with that. And we just discussed this yesterday, so I have no idea if they are actually going to take that on or not. We are going to know that in the next days. I know that right now there is a lot of work to do because would you mind me sharing on second screen so you understand what I mean?
Of course.
Okay. Nice. So, for example, one of the things that we'll have to do in here is something already has been done, but this is the groups that people did. So you actually see, like people like roles and permissions, reports and help. So basically the work that we need to do now, and it's going to take like site building, you have like a lot of them. So the work that we have to do is group, like for example, if we have roles and permissions and roles, and maybe if all the things are exactly the same there, we're going to put together these groups. We've been doing that so far with the things that we already had, but it's like, as you can see, it's a lot of things to sort out. And basically, well, it's going to take a lot of time. And after that, one of the things that I like the most is this matrix, where you can actually say where actually people put things that go together. Like, for example, we have all the people central things here. That makes sense that, for example, that would be like first menu item. We have all the content related stuff. You can see here the block, custom library, and menu links, for example, and create menu links. We on purpose had several things that were kind of a trap, like create a taxonomy term and taxonomy terms in general. So most of the people put that things in the same box. It doesn't mean that our results will say it has to go this way, just that you are what we're seeing here. For example, this is log messages, errors, and reports. This is configuration, structure, that would be like content types, menus, display mode, bios. Block layout is in here. Then we have extend, modules, themes are kind of together but separated. And then we have things that show some examples of people that is actually doing the same of what we have right now, which is actually taxonomy terms and taxonomy together, basically because we have exactly the same name. Menu links, menu link and menus, and so on. So now with all this information, we basically have to find the common goals and like what makes sense.
All right, and I realize I haven't been living up to my offer to read comments from the chat. Emma mentioned about 10 minutes ago, I think it also links into terminology and the glossary. So that's sort of a general comment, I think, about the information architecture also being related to what we call things.
What
Yeah,
do you
sorry.
mean?
It was in response to something that Thomas said about so some of the terms that people were asked to sort in the COD sort relied on them knowing, like you mentioned, blocks. So it just kind of struck me. We have something similar with some of the systems I deal with. So for beginners, we would send them to a glossary or terminology, or maybe link it from the interface. So if somebody's trying to use this for the first time, it doesn't assume the knowledge of what these items do, but there is like a way to triage beginners away from that without giving too much information to the people that already know it. Sorry, I have a bit of a cold, that's why I put it in the chat. Yeah, that was just my point there.
Oh, you're perfectly clear. Another comment in the chat Quinn made just a couple of minutes ago. It's a question, were there any categories that were misunderstood or had items inconsistently sorted into them?
I don't know.
And
I haven't dig it.
I think the way the exercise was structured, the categories were not given. So
Exactly.
So people had to group the items together and then they chose names for the categories. So I don't think it would be an issue to have categories being misunderstood. And Ralph
Yeah.
says it was an open card sort, which is maybe a briefer way of saying what I was just trying to say.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, that we have a lot of work on that in that perspective. Basically, we need to now understand what were the mental models, but we thought that it would be way more valuable to give that open floor for people like to express what they thought, and that's why it's going to take some time. Ralph, go ahead.
Ralph, go ahead.
Yeah, just one brief comment I forgot in my previous point I made at the end. In regards of just one comment about the card sort. One problem I had with is that if there were two card sorts, and in the second in particular, I had the feeling that there were 3 or 4 pages that were more or less the same from a terminology standpoint, and it was hard to distinguish which was which. And I think at the end I assumed it's the correct way, but still it was tricky because sometimes the naming slightly differed from the actual naming in a installation on the site.
Yeah, that goes in purpose to see what people did. Yeah, it's and also you don't know if you did that right. I mean, there is no right or wrong here. Yeah. That was the whole goal. It's like to see what actually people expect. If it's the same that we have, if it's different. So, and the purpose of having things that are named either exactly or, as I was saying one moment before, like exactly the same thing but with 2 different items. The whole goal was actually to see what people would do and how they would group things. So
okay, because me from the sorter's perspective, it threw me off basically, and I was thinking, doing something wrong because they are so close, and what do they actually mean? No. And what do they refer to? And that way they brought in some friction.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely the goal of the card sorting. Actually, it's like to understand what people would actually like to have from scratch, if it actually makes sense for them or not.
Yeah, I think from an experimental point of view, it's probably good to disorient people a little bit by making some changes, by not calling things exactly what they're currently called. Because if you use exactly the terms that people are used to, it's just so easy for them to sort them into the existing categories rather than coming up with something new. So I think that was probably an intentional bit of discomfort introduced into the exercise. Thomas, go ahead.
That kind of goes hand in hand with the thing I was poorly expressing earlier. But I find that my brain, at least when sorting things, so frequently puts like terminology with like terminology, even if structurally it may not make sense, which is why I was so happy when we moved the content block stuff under content, because for years my brain put it into blocks and thought that's where it belonged. And I don't know how much of those inherent biases of grouping things together, even when behaviorally they don't make sense, because then you have to really understand what block means. Like the less like behaviors are grouped together and the more you group them based upon just language, the more you have to already know what that language means, because you're not using some. And so to me, it ended up being kind of a weird circular problem where every time I step away from Drupal for a couple of years and I come back, I'm like, okay, where is any of this stuff? What does it mean? And anything that this exercise long term can solve so that anyone can step in, because I think there is a very large difference between people who work in Drupal on a daily basis and people who may encounter it for a period of time and then leave. And so it's some weird barrier to entry that reappears even for people with experience when they've stepped away for too long. So just, yeah, thoughts.
We're getting a thumbs up from Ralph. So I'd like to get back to the question of what the next steps are. What's the plan? I think, Christina, you have some dedicated time to work on this, and of course, we have the Drupal release schedule. So we're hoping to get some big changes in for Drupal 10.2 in 6 months, right?
Yeah, but I can promise this link blog layout will go into appearance, because I can't promise there is going to be actually an appearance in there. So anyway, yes, I'm having full-time for 6 months contribution, full-time Drupal contribution. So I'm focused on improving the experience on the admin interface, and it's not just about the information architecture. I'm working on a lot of other things, like the toolbar itself, or like, I don't know, dashboards, like a lot of other things related to information architecture. Sorry, to user experience in the admin interface. So regarding next steps for this specific issue about the appearance page, I think it's just postponed, that we need to see which are the results about the information architecture in general. Next steps, as I was saying, we're waiting to have the answer from the Akia UX folks, and if they can take that on, I mean, they are experts on that. So if they can do that, that would be amazing. If not, I would probably ask for help. Obviously, on the UX channel will be the first place, because I'm not just working on this information architecture. I'm working with designs and a lot of other things. So right now, I hope we have this sorted out, and as soon as we have results, we will let you know about this specific issue for the information architecture. But if we don't see that moving forward, I will let you all know and see if you can help in there. So there are no like next steps that we can do until we actually figure or understand what are the results of the card sort.
And do we have an idea on the time frame? Will it take a couple of weeks for them to have results, and where will it be reported? Should we be following the issue?
About the time frame, I have no idea, because I'm still not sure if they are actually going to help or not. No promises here. The results are going to go, at least for now, as far as I know, in the same card sorting issue itself.
So if we follow this issue, we should get some notification. So I guess the card sorting is closed, but the status of the issue is still active. I don't know if if you should update that.
As I commented on my last comment this afternoon, I will post the results in here. we'll post back in this issue as soon as we reach to some conclusions. That's the goal, to at least not open and close so many things. Depending on what are the results, maybe we decide that it makes sense to actually open another issue, and we will post that in here for sure. We'll see. Still don't know. I just closed that, as you can see, like a few hours ago. So sorry, I have no more answers for this.
Okay, and Ralph asks in the chat, is it possible to take a look at those results? So can you share the data of the card sorting exercise?
Not sure. I mean, I would like not to invite a lot of people in the it's basically because I personally bought this it's an account that I created, and I'm not sure if I can share all this information. I'm not sure if the raw data is actually anonymized. I'm not sure. I should have to take a look to that. Right now, my plan, I think it can have like up to 5 people, and I'm waiting to have the answer from the UX folk from Akio. So I'm trying to reserve that space for the people from that might work from there, and that's why I don't want to give that seats to anybody else yet. And about the raw data, I don't know how to export that. I will see if it's anonymized. I'm not sure if that makes sense. I mean, it's not going to be useful just to have a file, CVS file or something like that. But I mean, if you think that's useful, it's just that about the seats that I have on this tool are limited. So I'm not saying I'm not going to share that. It's just that right now I have that place limited and waiting for the people that is actually going to work on that. But for sure, I mean, I'm going to take as much screenshots as I can. And I mean, the conclusions are not going to be just, here you have a few paragraphs of what we discovered. It's going to be like, here you have all the data. It's just that right now I'm just waiting to see who is actually going to work on with that.
You know, I think it would actually be useful if you could export it to a spreadsheet, a CSV file. You know, it's the spirit of open source software that people want to reach in, see the data. People might have specific questions that could be answered by looking at the data. And if they have specific questions, it's their responsibility to figure out how to analyze it. So
yeah, I would try to see if I have availability first to see if the results are anonymized. I perfectly know what this open source way of thinking. It's just that I will try to make sure that there is no data from people in there. And then I can promise that the data that this tool exports is something more than rows and columns that have a card and a number inside, and it won't make any sense to anybody. So no promises. I will export that and I will share that with you. From there, as soon as I can, I will do that.
yeah, so when we get past the analysis and the planning for the implementation, I think that a lot of the work we did running up to Drupal 10.1 is going to be very helpful. So we've sort of solved questions like when you change the path of some admin page, what's the right way to deal with people who have links or bookmarks to the old path. So you know, it's really not a huge problem that the block layout page, which we hoped to move, it's not a big problem that that's not going to be moved yet. And if we move it to some other place, we now, you know, sort of have the experience of the issues we've already worked on. That'll make the implementation a lot smoother. So we sort of do want to have a decision and know where it's going to go. And I think we'll be frustrated if it doesn't get into Drupal 10.2. So that does give us 6 months, but we would like
You're
to
saying you're
happen.
talking about the appearance page, the block layout inside the appearance page?
Yeah, the issue we started with. So currently block layout is still under structure, and the proposal is to move it under appearance. Now that you're planning to totally rearrange that menu, we understand that we're not going to do that in isolation. But we do want it to happen.
Yeah, I know, and that's why I tried to first come today and explain why we're doing that and what's going on. It's just that it's not that I don't want to make those changes. It's just that they need to be backed with data, and they need to be like this main navigation administration navigation changes have to be like more holistic and see the whole menu as a whole. That's why I can't promise anything. As I said at the beginning, I totally appreciate the work that you've been doing. It's just that this specific one, even though you've put a lot of hours here, the result that this issue is proposing right now doesn't make total sense, and that's why I've moved closer in time this card sorting to start working on this information architecture, so you can have answers first. And I will do as much as I can to try to unblock that, but I can't promise anything. First, this is Drupal. I will have full time, but I don't have just full time for this. And you know how it's open source. Sometimes not everything goes in. I will, as I'm saying, I really appreciate your work, and I will do my best to make all the changes that you're doing, especially the thing that you just said about like the changing the roads and everything, if somebody has something safe. And I think all of this is related, and I don't think this only one block layout specific issue will take all the credit that you've done an amazing work so far. It's just that I'm not sure if this is going to go in, because I'm not sure if there is going to be a place to actually put that, because I'm not sure if there is going to be an appearance, and I'm not sure how long it is going,
But Christina,
to take.
What I'm saying is that the hard part is not putting it in one place or another. Most of the work we've done is not wasted. If we put it in some other place, if we're going to be changing the path, we'll take advantage of the work we've already done. So only a small amount of what we've done is being overridden. So Ralph just posted a link a few minutes ago. Whoops. Oh, unfortunately, when I copy from the Zoom chat, I get the whole thing, which includes a full sentence and not just the link. There we go. So this issue is 2860419. The appearance page is too long and confusing. Is this something else that you're planning to work on in the next few months?
I am not planning to work on this specifically. And just to point out, I'm not saying that the appearance page is going to disappear. I'm just talking about the menu link, and I'm not even sure if that's true. I mean, that I haven't properly looked at the results so far, but the appearance page is going to be somewhere. You need an appearance page to decide, to see what are the themes that you have, and if you want to install or uninstall something. So this page is going to still exist for sure. Not sure if that actually solves the question.
Yeah, I wouldn't be at all surprised if sort of installing and updating a theme and deciding which one is the admin theme. It wouldn't surprise me if that ends up being grouped with installing modules, and then Settings for themes and block layout might end up under configuration. Lots of possibilities. Yeah, so it's, I guess what you're saying is that this link, extend at the top level of the admin menu, is probably not going to survive. And that's fine. We've got a few minutes left. What would any last questions? We'll probably have time for one more topic we'd like to bring it up. And Ralph says in the chat, in regards of the navigational hierarchy, would it help if I would start a spreadsheet with nested lists for different Drupal versions and some other CMSs?
I think that any work that can happen around the information architecture would help whoever is ends up working on that. I'm not sure if the Akia folks or whoever, like the team that ends up like going full mode with that. So if you want to work on that and later post a link or something, or a screenshot or a link to the document or whatever in this issue, restructure the admin interface information architecture. Maybe that's the place, probably.
Yeah, this is the parent issue of the card sorting exercise. It's also the parent issue of the one we worked on for Drupal 10.1 of reorganizing block items in the admin menus. That's probably the place to put any information on comparisons between different versions of Drupal, between Drupal and other CMSs, of how they're admin. Go ahead, Ralph.
One other idea I got remembered too when Benji scrolled through that issue before. An exercise that might be also helpful, but is also a bit of work, is to assess top tasks for the different groups of, for example, site builders, content editors, and the like, to see what their actual top tasks are in the admin interface, and that could inform the categorization as well as the structuralization and how many clicks are required to reach a certain task. So what's the main objective when working with the admin interface?
Right, so I guess you're talking about having some user stories, and then how many clicks does it take to accomplish those stories?
Not actual user stories, it's more or less something similar we did for Project Browser, to have a list of 80 to 100 tasks, and then let people vote, give them 5 minutes to read through and pick the first 4 or 5 tasks. And that way you get a histogram with the top tasks and the long tail. And that way you get an idea what matters the most, which tasks to the different people.
Okay, so just a few minutes left. So Christina, one last question here. So about the scope of this issue to restructure the information architecture. Are you planning on just restructuring this menu, which I guess we could also look at? Oh, this is sort of an overwhelming way to look at it. But it is this particular menu. Are you just focusing on this, or are you also considering that we should have different menus for different roles, or make that an option for site users?
All the things.
Okay.
As I said at the beginning, we're thinking both on having several menus on that matter, but also some other things that are already, actually several things are proposed on the ideas issue queue, like for example, these alternative ways to navigate from one place to another, like for example, a shortcut from the view modes to create view modes in the same page, or I don't know, other alternative ways to navigate from one place to another. So that's why I actually changed the name of that issue to just have the information architecture itself in this issue, because there is already the other issue to rethink and change the way the navigation works in Drupal. So it means that it's not going to be only the admin menu, but there should be other alternatives. So it's several things at the same time.
Okay. And I guess maybe just in the last minute, another, here we go, core development and strategic initiatives. I guess it is a strategic initiative at this point, isn't it? Or is it?
What? No, it is not.
Oh, it's not.
No. This is something that kind of explained that during the keynotes, but still, so there is not an initiative, and no, there is not going to be an initiative. The whole focus behind what I'm doing is improving the UX in general. So it's not just about the main navigation, or it's not just about dashboard, or it's not about field UI or layout builder, or I don't know, all the other things that we're thinking about. I mean, there are several things that are happening that are going to be related to each other, that we can share resources. So it's like there will be like an initiative that could be called Change All the Things, and I don't think that's a good idea, because we will never finish that. So it's basically, there are like several things happening, and we're actually planning to have an issue that has a link to all these big changes, or all these big, I don't know how to say that in English. So all these big work, all this work that is happening. But so far we just have ideas proposed. So far there is an idea in the core ideas for the navigation changes. There is another for the dashboard, and there is an issue that it's not an idea for the field UI, and then there are other things that are going to happen, but I don't think there is anything out there yet. Not that because it's close to anything, it's just that people haven't put that in there yet, but it's public everywhere.
Yeah, so Thomas says in the chat that he hopes that you'll reach out to us if there's anything we can do to help. Maybe I should just read the words as written. I know I can't speak for the group, but I believe that any support or assistance you need, Christina, I, and possibly we are very happy to supply. So
sure, if you want to join the admin UI channel, that's the place where we are actually discussing most of these things. There is a weekly meeting starting next week related to that, and as I'm saying, there is some work that already is on the development part. There is a lot of work that is still on the initial designs part. So FUI, there is this is happening on the admin UI channel mainly, because it's related to the admin interface itself. So if you have any interest, of course, I will try to share as much as I can in this channel, in the UX channel.
Okay, we're a couple of minutes over, so thanks, Christina, and everyone else for coming. And we'll have another meeting next week. Hope you can make it then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice weekend, everyone.
Thank you.